Hey, everybody, we're going to call the meeting to order. I know there's a couple of people who may be coming a few minutes late driving in our horrendous traffic. Happy spring officially, although you can't tell by the weather, everybody. And welcome to our meeting. I see we have a lot of guests here this evening, in addition to regional center staff and vendors, and of course, our board and committee members. So welcome, everybody. Glad to have you all with us. Erica, can you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Gisara Gusa.
Here.
Julie Chetney.
Here.
Trish Gonzalez.
Here.
Bill Stewart.
Here.
Priti Subramaniam.
Here.
Mary Soldato.
Here.
Susan Strobel.
Here.
Joseph Wong. Oh, I thought I saw Joseph.
Did too. He might be.
Oh, here, there. I see him. Jay Dixit.
Yeah. Here. Here.
Bruce Crickshank.
Here.
Wendy Lai.
Here.
Natalie Weber.
Here.
Karen Sarsa-Diaz-I.
I'm here.
Tina Wright. And Richard Centeno.
I'm here, Erica.
Hi, Richard.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Erica. We, as you can note from our agenda, we have a very packed agenda this evening with some presentations and reports, etc. So we're excited about that. We'll get started. Let's start by reviewing the agenda, and board members, if there are any changes or adjustments needed to the agenda, please let us know.
Good.
Hearing and seeing none. You all have your minutes in your packet. Do we have any adjustments to our minutes? Hearing and seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Bill. Mary has a second. Thank you, Mary. Any other discussion associated with our minutes this evening? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there any opposition to the minutes? Any abstention? Julie is frozen, but she did say aye in the beginning. I think she's having an issue with her, unless I'm having an issue with it. I hope not. Okay. So we're going to move on now to the next item on the agenda, and that is public input. Erica, do we have public input? Uh-oh.
Yes, ma'am. You have Carl Argila.
Am I frozen? Okay, yeah. Carl, the floor is yours. Thank you, Carl.
Okay, can I verify that I'm audible? Hi.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. So as you know, my name is Carl Argila. I'm the father of Kevin Argila, an intellectually disabled deaf client of the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center. And as you also know, tonight's board meeting, including my comments, are being recorded under the provisions of the Bagley-Keene Act and will be posted for public review on my blog at www.sgprc.net, and I posted the URL in chat. And this evening, I have two issues to be brought to the attention of the board. First of all, as the board knows, on December 20th of 2013, the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center issued a notice of proposed action denying my request that a deaf service coordinator be assigned to my deaf children's cases. And I will now provide you with a copy of that proposed notice of action. This notice of action fails to, the notice of action states that, quote, there is no provision in the law that requires the regional center to provide a service coordinator who has the, quote, same impairment as the client or that is fluent in the client's language. This notice of action fails to recognize that the deaf community is a cultural and linguistic minority and not, quote, impaired, unquote, as stated in your notice of action of December 20th, 2013. And in addition, this statement is simply wrong. The Lanterman Act makes repeated references to the need for cultural and linguistic competence in services and supports. In particular, the Lanterman Act references you, this board, when it states that regional centers shall provide necessary training and support to board members to facilitate their understanding and participation, including issues relating to linguistic and cultural competency. Lanterman Act 4622 G1. As the board is aware, more recently, I met with Dr. Weller on December 9th, and I asked Dr. Weller, sir, please rescind that notice of action discriminating against the deaf community in hiring a deaf service coordinator for my family. And what did Dr. Weller do? Subsequently, he wrote another letter to me upholding that initial notice of action. Well, this letter must now be viewed, Dr. Weller's most recent letter must now be viewed within the context of a class action lawsuit filed against the Department of Developmental Services, including this regional center, for its failure to provide services for my children and 4,998 other deaf clients. But yesterday there was big news, as I hope you know. The United States Supreme Court, in the case of Luna Perez versus Sturgis Public Schools, affirmed the right of a deaf man to seek damages when discriminated against. Hopefully that decision will eventually percolate down to this board. Also, second item for this board this evening, I am requesting, once again, that you terminate your conservatorship of my son, Carl Argila. And I'm requesting that the official minutes of this board meeting accurately state, and I'm requesting that the San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center terminate their conservatorship of my son, Carl Argila. So once again, board, thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you, Carl. Erica, do we have any other individuals who have signed up for public input?
Yes, we have Albert Feliciano.
Okay, Albert, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Ragusa. Good evening, President Ragusa, board members, San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center staff, and community members. My name is Albert Feliciano, and I'm an advocate with the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. And I do have a few announcements, so please bear with me. The first announcement is that SCDD continues to hold our statewide trainings every Monday at 10 a.m. These are open to the public, so anyone can attend these trainings, families to self-advocates to professionals. These trainings are open. Please spread the word. If you have the flyer, share the flyer. And just invite anyone that will benefit from these trainings. Again, these trainings are held every Monday at 10 a.m. and they will be ongoing until the remainder or the end of the year. My second announcement is that SCDD continues to provide the self-determination program orientation. This is in addition to the orientations that regional centers are providing for their individuals and families, which is an option for those individuals or families that cannot attend the regional center SDP orientation for whatever reason. This is an option. Orientations are being provided in 3 languages now. So I'm happy to announce that. Now they're being provided in Vietnamese. So that's the 3rd language. So English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. If you wish to learn more about these orientations, you can visit our website and you'll see a calendar there. So momentarily after this announcement, I will put the link in the chat. If you wish to see the schedule, again, 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And my third announcement is that SCDD LA office, State Council LA office, facilitates a monthly board meeting for the Self-Advocacy Board of LA County. This is a board comprised of self-advocates in LA County. They do meet once a month, the first Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. And I will also be sharing the flyer in the chat. So if there are any self-advocates, individuals served by the regional center here, or if you know a self-advocate that wishes to join a board, let me know and I can help you with that, or I can connect you with the president. And please spread the word about this board. It's a great board. The State Council facilitates their monthly meetings. And that's it for my announcements. Thank you, President Ragusa.
Thank you so much, Albert. Appreciate that. Erica, any other public input?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. I do have a little bit of a weak connection on my internet right now. I hope everyone can hear me. I had a brief power outage, very brief, so it automatically restarted, but it's now telling me that my connection is slightly weak. So forgive me if you can't hear me, just let me know. I can hear everybody, but you are kind of freezing on my screen, so it's a little bit concerning to me. So we'll press forward. We now want to turn to our review of our audit report, which is an annual independent audit in the 990 tax form. So I'm going to turn the floor over to AGT, and board members, you've received a copy of this report as well. Crystal, are you ready to present?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Crystal Mikrantz, and I'm from AGT CPAs and Advisors, and we were the independent auditors for the financial statement audit for the year ending June 30th, 2022. And so the purpose of my attendance at the meeting tonight is just to give you a really brief overview of the results of our audit. My team met with the executive committee a few weeks ago, and we spent a long time going in much more detail over all the reports. And so tonight it's just very high level to give you the results. So the result of the audit was good. We issued an unmodified opinion, and that means that's a clean audit opinion with no findings, and that's the best type of opinion that you can get. So that's exactly what you want to hear as a board, that there was a clean audit opinion. We conducted the audit in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States of America, and that's what you pay us to do. So that's the result of the audit. And we did also prepare a draft of the 990, which the 990 is all nonprofits are required to file. It's called an information return with the IRS. And essentially it's the same information that's in the audit report, but it's just put in IRS tax forms. And so it reports income and expenses and some other informational items. So I don't plan to go over any of these reports in depth unless somebody has a question for me. And at this time, I'll open it up for questions if you have any. Otherwise, that's pretty much it.
Thank you very much, Crystal. Board members, do you have questions associated with the audit report?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to know about the adequacy of our financial controls, specifically the signing of checks, use of credit cards, and the request for checks.
Okay, well, I'll start by saying that we were not engaged to do an internal control audit. That's a different service, but we do look at internal controls for a financial statement audit in order to perform a risk assessment, and that's required. And so we identify what we believe are key controls, and we test those controls, and the results of our testing did not identify any findings from what we believe the key controls were in the different processes.
Okay, so that means that the controls are adequate.
We believe the controls are operating effectively to reduce risks of financial statement misstatement. That's what I can say. I can't give an opinion on the internal controls themselves. That's a separate thing, but we do test controls. And so if we did identify anything while we were testing, I would report that if we had a finding, but we do not.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Bruce. Tiana, I see your hand. Do you have a question about the audit report? Tiana?
Actually, no, not about the audit report. It was when you open up, I'll ask my question. I'm sorry about that.
No
Okay.
worries. No worries. Thank you so much. Okay, thanks so much.
You muted yourself, Gigi.
Gigi, you're
Gigi,
muted.
you're muted.
And by accident, because I'm having a little bit of an internet issue today. Hopefully my power does not go off. It's raining very hard here. So moving on, we will go on to the Executive Finance Committee report in our CFO, Daryl Mike. So we'll start that process. Daryl, the floor is yours.
Good evening, President Ragusa, board members, regional center staff, and attendees. If I can share my screen, thank you. Okay, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the operations and purchase of service monthly financial report for payments through February 21st, 2023 for fiscal year 22-23. In regional center operations, our allocation is based on the D1 amendment and is expected to meet expenditure projections. Projections include ongoing operation expenses and any outstanding encumbrances. Our D1 allocation is at $43.5 million with projected expenditures of about $42 million. Our year to date is about $20 million, which is right here. And our projected remaining expenditures are about $21 million. This leaves us about $1.4 million that is unallocated at this point. As you know, you can see down here, this is in comparison to last year's projection or last year's salaries and rate and fringes. You'll see that we are trending higher here than we were last year. And that is largely due to the increase in hiring that we have been actively doing in order to meet the caseload ratios. And you can see here that we are operating about the same as last year, maybe a little bit less. The Family Resource Center, which is right here and also right here, which is the foster grandparents and senior companion, combined are about $1.5 million. And we expect to spend the full amount as we have done so in the past in those areas. The CPP and DC closure, we did receive 50% of those funds in the D1, and we are anticipating to see the remaining 50% in the D2 allocation, which is why you are seeing a deficit right here. Does anyone have any questions on this sheet before I move to the next? Okay. The next sheet here is our purchase of service. The total allocation of the D1 is $376 million. This current month's expenditure amount is at about $27 million. There is a projected unencumbered amount in POS of about $34 million. We are trending higher this year than we were in last year. And this is largely due to people going back to program, also rate increases that we have had with the rate table or the rate reform modification. And so we are showing that we are have higher costs than we did last year around this time. Does anyone have any questions regarding the purchase of service?
Yeah. Are we back to face-to-face services for day programs and
We had the alternative service model ended at the end of December of last year. And so people are returning traditionally. There are some modifications that have been made. And Lucy can speak more to those if you want to have more specifics.
Can I go ahead and speak?
yeah, sure.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Ragusa and board members and community members and staff. In terms of day programs and in-person services, beginning January 1st, in-person services began, although they were already occurring during the alternative services portion. But alternative services, as Dara mentioned, ended at the end of the year. However, the department did provide some directives that our adult day programs, our independent living programs, and now our behavior therapy programs and our infant development programs can provide remote services if they are appropriate and if it's something the adult and the family is requesting and agrees to. So we are, for those categories, remote services are going to be allowed through the end of December 2023.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel the remote services worked in comparison to the face-to-face services that we've traditionally provided?
I think some families and some individuals prefer that because they are still sort of nervous and anxious about COVID, to be honest with you. And there are some for some individuals it works well because maybe they like the remote service. Sort of like college students who prefer that mode of delivery. It's not for everyone. I see that a lot of our families and individuals, especially our residential providers and people in residential care, really wanted to go back because just like you and I during the pandemic, we were tired of seeing the same four walls, right? We were tired of sitting at the same table, sitting at the same desk. And so I think variety is very helpful. And I think they miss their friends. I think they miss the staff that they work with. And so I don't think it's for everybody, but then neither is in person. So I think it's good that there's a variety and an option for different modalities.
I mean, were we using alternative services prior to the traditional services?
Alternative services were provided because of the pandemic.
Okay, so that's when we began providing.
Yeah, it was never an option before that. Alternative services did not only include remote, it also included dropping off packets, calling people on the phone to make sure they were well. It included other items in addition to remote services. It also included shorter days, less days per week. So it wasn't just remote. It was, okay, your program is only going to be 2 days a week, half days, or 1 day a week. And 1 day a week we're going to drop a packet, and 1 day a week we're going to go to we're going to have a service in your patio, And so it would be differing services that were considered alternative.
So it seems like because of COVID, we really didn't have a choice. We really couldn't do the traditional way because of the problem with people getting sick. Do we feel like the services we provided were as effective for the people that we served as the traditional face-to-face services?
I think it depends on the person, Bruce. I think it depends on the person. And I think the best people to ask that to are the people that we serve and support. Because I can tell you yes, but then an individual might say, but I like it. It would work well for me. Kind of like people who feel that remote learning is better for them because they can focus more. And then there are those who don't like remote learning because they really want the interaction with the teacher and the classmates. And so I think it's an individual choice, an individual decision.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry, Lucina. Hey, I think there is something wrong with your mic. You might want to try to restart your computer and then get back on. That might help, okay?
Okay, Susan's hand as well, actually. Dara, I see Susan's hand as well.
Yes, Susan.
I just wanted to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to comment to Bruce. Bruce, I think like in terms of early intervention, for some kids, it was super hard to keep them engaged on a video screen. And then for other kids, it helped their moms or parent or caregiver to be more involved and more hands-on with the babies. So it's kind of, it depended. I know for some kids who are non-speaking, it really made them work really hard at their typing skills, and their nonverbal communication skills really improved remotely because they didn't have the option of taking somebody by the hand to show them. They had to type out their responses. So I think there, for some people, there's some really magnificent, wonderful stories about remote, and for some kids, it just didn't go well. So I think it's a mixed bag. Okay. I mean, there was controversy as to how remote learning affected kids going to school. And our folks have their activities, and they are trying to progress in their areas of concern. So I was just wondering if it worked better for us than it did for kids attending school.
Thank you, Bruce. Mary, I see your hand. Do you have a question or comment?
Yes, I have a comment. I just like to say that the remote package was okay, but being back at program is a lot better. At least we get out. At least we leave the house and we don't sit here all day looking at four walls. It's very active for me, and I enjoy working with my staff.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thanks, Mary.
You're welcome.
Dara, would you like to continue with your report?
Yes, thank you, Bruce. That was a great question. Does anyone have any questions regarding this purchase of service report? Okay, then I'm going to proceed to the next page, which is our statement of financial position. And again, this provides an overview of our financial position. And this next sheet is a breakdown of the purchase of service funds that were captured in that second report. So it shows the out-of-home, which covers the community care facilities, the ICFs, the SNFs, the day program category covers day program, day training, supportive employment, and then other services cover transportation, non-medical, personal and incidentals, hospital care, medical equipment. And so these are the breakdown to the sections noted in that purchase of service report, which was the second document. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. To stop sharing. Gigi, would you like for me to move on to the overview of the C4?
Yes, please.
Okay. For bearing with me for 1 second. Okay. So last at the Executive Finance Committee, we discussed the C4 allocation, which was an allocation that we received, I believe it was at the beginning of this month, if not the end of last month. And what this is a technology lending library, which is to improve access to Early Start, and also some additional funds for service provider rate reform and some other areas here. But primarily it is for that technology lending library. And so this was discussed at the Executive Finance Committee meeting and was signed and submitted to DDS as approved. Does anyone have any questions regarding the C4 allocation that we received last month or this month? Okay. Thank you.
Sarah. Great. Now we will move on to Lucina, who will report on some present some contracts that have been reviewed by Executive Finance and been voted to go forward for full board approval. We have 3 of them. We have just 1. Is that correct?
Gigi, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I actually have the financial report board training.
I'm so sorry. I looked right past it, so forgive me. Go ahead.
That's okay. I mean, I apologize for taking so much time up today, so I'll try to get through this. Okay. All righty. So the purpose of this training, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. The purpose of this presentation is to introduce a new report format in financial reporting. And this is really in hopes to make things a little bit easier when you're seeing these reports every month. Now, to kind of give you to back up a little bit and give a little bit of an explanation on how our budget works, we are different than a typical for-profit organization. And that is because our budget is based on the governor's approved budget. And DDS assigns a block of money to each regional center based off of that governor's annual budget. We also operate 3 fiscal years at any given time. So we are working on current, prior, and 2-year prior fiscal years, which is very unique and not typically seen in a regular for-profit organization. The allocation that we receive from DDS and off of the budget is broken down into 2 major components. And what we discussed in my prior presentation is broken down in both operations and purchase of service. And the operation funds cover salary, fringe benefits, operating expenses, and what is captured in that is rents, communications, insurance, utilities, all of that. There's also a allocation for restricted programs such as like ongoing workload and CPP, the Family Resource Center funds. And we had discussed those earlier in the prior presentation. The second component is the purchase of service, which is the funds that are allocated for client-related services. And to name a few would be residential services, day program, respite, transportation, ILS, things of that nature. And then also there is the restricted POS, which is special projects for startup contracts, that is like community placement program, the CPP, or the HCBS. What we're doing a little bit different is what we've been talking about is the month to date and the year to date. These indicates actual payments made in a given month. And then the year to date are actual payments from July through the current month within a 12-month period in a fiscal year. The remaining expenses are projected and combined to the actual year to date that derive to a total annual expense. And then right here, the shaded area is the comparison of last year. But also when we're looking at the total here, we talk about the allocation balance or deficit. And so you can see here that anything that is not in parentheses is considered an allocation, is a surplus or an unallocated amount, an encumbered amount. So what would be different from what we have been presenting is this will be the actual year-to-date in comparison to the budget instead of comparing it to last year. So we're hoping that this will provide a little bit more value so that you can see how we are operating in comparison to the budget. And again, this is just kind of drilling down a little bit to show you what is included in the operations component. And you see the salaries, retirement, Social Security, things of that nature. And then this is a further breakdown of the specialized programs and that allotment. Now, moving on to the purchase of service, again, this comprises of the residential, community care facilities, day programs, respite, other non-medical programs or home care, but it also covers the the SPA, which is the SPA ICF reimbursement. And this is kind of a little interesting because it's because of federal rules, the funding has to go through the ICF provider and then is reimbursed back to the regional center. And so when you see SPA reimbursement, it's what that is covered. And then the restricted POS funds is the community placement plan, the community resource development plan, and the home and community-based services. And so again, we're looking at that month to date, year to date, and then the remaining. And this is what the POS will look like. And it will show here again that it is comparing the actual year to date to the budget. Mm-hmm. And this is again, kind of drills down a little bit more as to what is covered in that POS budget. Now, our financial reporting is it's going to look like this. So you're used to seeing this financial statement, but instead you're going to see, or in addition, you're going to see this. Now, to kind of explain to you what this is the cash and cash equivalent is considered petty cash, cash in the bank, FSA, unemployment. The receivable section is the 3 fiscal years that we're looking at, the submitted claims to DDS that are awaiting payment. What I didn't mention at the beginning is that when a budget is allocated, we don't receive all that money up front. What we do is we have to submit claims to the state and they reimburse us for those funds. So there is, this section is speaking to that submitted claims that we're waiting to receive back from DDS. The accounts payable are pending POS payments to vendors, invoices, and then the advance cash. This is the cash advances that we receive at the early part of the fiscal year. And so what that means is that we are given a percentage of the budget in what's called a cash advance. And so those funds are used to really create that buffer during the year so that we have enough money to wait for the state to reimburse us for claims that we submit. And then this here is our POS allocation balance in comparison to the prior year. And so this will show how we are trending in our prior years. And this is our operations allocation balance and how it compares to the prior year. So you can see that it is typically trending along the same lines, but you may see some dips here and there depending on things that happen in that given month. For example, and this one here, December of last year, there were 3 pay periods in that month. And there wasn't that same pay period, those 3 pay periods in December, yet there wasn't in January. So that kind of explains those kind of dips and falls. Does anybody have any questions? I know I've given you a lot of information.
Yeah. So I see Bill's hand. I just wanted to give people a little bit more context, and forgive me for running through this. I recognize we have a lot of agenda items, so I apologize, Dara. So you may recall, board members and those who serve on committees, advisory committees of the board, that every year in the early fall, we have or in the summer actually, we have a training and information survey that we send to all of you. Resulting from that, the board, the Strategic Development Committee of the board recommends particular trainings that might be helpful. And in this situation, some of the trainings are required by DDS, and then there are others that are information and training opportunities that are identified in our survey. So in this case, one of the challenges some people identified is wanting more information associated with, or more graphic information, depending on the individual, associated with our financial reports monthly. So consequently, we identified that as a training need. Dara and our esteemed treasurer, Bill Stewart, who has a strong business background and in particular a fiscal background, got together and created these more graphically oriented opportunities in which you can see some overviewing and comparisons year to date and across years, but you can also dig deeper to line items and things like that, should you choose to, so you have more information and you can flip through that and ask questions with a bit more information provided on the front end via the reports that are provided to us each month. Bill, you may want to add to that as the treasurer, and I do see your hand. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Giselle. Good evening, board and staff and guests. Yes, I have the privilege of being the treasurer of this organization, and we are over a $400 million organization. That is a very, very large financial budget. So as a board, one of our most important responsibilities is fiduciary oversight. So to Dara and to Jesse and to Gigi, thank you for the support. What I was trying to do is make the metrics, the financial performance, easier to understand, and that we really focus on the key metrics. Things like, what does our unencumbered balance look like? How does that compare to budget? How can we look at trends month to month to put things in context so that we can understand the financial health? So my point of view is the financial team is doing a remarkable job, and these changes are going to make it easier to focus on the things that we really need to make sure are in the right shape and trending well going forward. So thank you for the ability to make some changes, and a special hats off to Dara and her team and to Jesse for the flexibility. I really think we're really in a good shape going forward. So kudos to all.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any other questions regarding the changes in graphic orientation of the financial reports, which you'll begin to see? You saw a glimpse to this evening, but you'll also be seeing them moving forward. Richard, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Was events, the financial report, it's a statement, investors, financial health, and we have a statement, and we call a balance sheet, income statement, to help form, understand, and
that's correct.
The record.
Absolutely.
And also create equality and to get others, and we do support of our financial of the United States of America.
Thank
for
you,
the
Richard.
federal agencies and governments. And we have to.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much. And you're absolutely right. This increases transparency and provides both opportunities to see, visual orientation in addition to, digging deep into the line items for board members. So thanks so much. Any other questions or comments associated with the financial report training and its improvements for the near future?
I think this is a substantial improvement. I really like it.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah.
I do too. So thank you so much. And thank you for working so hard on this, Dara, Jesse, and Bill, for your advice on that as well, because I do think it's important that we have as much transparency and, year-to-year comparisons, month-to-month comparisons, and trends are really, really important. So this is really improved. Thank you. All righty, great. Again, moving on to the next agenda item. Any other parts of your report or training before I move on? Dara?
No, I have concluded my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Now we have a contract to approve. Lucina, the floor is yours regarding the multifamily set-asides from Prisma.
Thank you. I just want to make sure you can hear me well. I fixed my mic, I hope. Is it better?
Yeah.
Much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Jose, for letting me know. I did want to let the community know, and also board members, that this project was presented to the Executive Finance 2 weeks ago. They did approve it to recommend for the board to approve it. Make sure I'm clarifying that. But I do want to review it a little bit. Each year we're able to present projects for the department to approve, and what Dara mentioned in some of her reports, the community resource development plan or the community placement plan. This one is a community-based development plan because it does not affect people who live in developmental centers. It affects people who live in the community. And so one of the projects we recommended was we wanted to have affordable housing for our community. We had tried 2 years before and we were denied. And we have other projects that we also were awarded this year for additional projects. But this one is $1 million project, and it is to be able to have 5 set-aside apartments in a complex in Pomona. It's an affordable housing complex that's already being worked on. And it's going to include housing for artists in Pomona. They're going to have the bottom floor. It's called Prisma Pomona Artist Loft. And we were awarded 5. It didn't seem like a lot, but we will take whatever we can. We were awarded 5 apartments. And so we are now going to enter the word affordable housing. And so what I'd like to ask the board is to agree with the executive finance and approve this contract so we can move forward. And we are going to be working really closely with our department, who's very knowledgeable in terms of affordable housing. This is a multi-family housing, and the 5 individuals who will be able to live in these apartments, they will have to pay rent based on 30% of the average median income, which for those on Social Security would be less than $300 a month. So that to me is a great win. It's a great advantage. We've been wanting to do this for our community. We now have the opportunity. So I'd really like to have the board approve this project because it is over $250,000. And as you know, anytime we have any project that's over that amount, we need board approval to continue to contract with that entity and to move forward with these projects. So board, I'm asking for your approval for this project.
Lucina, where are the apartments located in Pomona?
They're at 501 East Mission in Pomona.
Oh, okay.
Part of your packet, I think Erica put it in there, I'm pretty sure. It was presented to the executive finance 2 weeks ago. It is in your packet. It's a full pamphlet of information. Yeah. It's from National Community Renaissance. And it'll talk about the project. It's at 501 East Mission. It's an ideal location. It's accessible to transit. It's 10 minutes to the Downtown Pomona Metro Link station. It's adjacent to arts and education projects. It's part of the Art Deco of Pomona. It's 75 units, a 4-story building, 15 artists live-in work units, 12 one-bedrooms. We are asking for 5 one-bedroom apartments. There's also a lot of services they're going to provide in kind to our individuals at that project. So take a look at the handout. It'll explain a lot of the things that they're going to provide to anybody who rents there, not just our 5 individuals, but the other individuals in the other 70 units.
Okay. 501 East Mission. All right. My office is near there, so
great.
I'd like to see it. Sounds good.
We're excited.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, it sounds very exciting, wonderful to be included with others in the community. Susan, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I was just curious to know if you've identified artists in our community that are going to be able to rent there.
So ours are not the artists. That ours are the other individuals. The artists get the bottom floor, and so those will not be able to access the bottom floor because those are work units. I mean, if we can find an artist who also has, we serve, maybe we can, pitch that. But right now, I think they've already probably selected those artists because they're in Pomona, and if you know Pomona, it's right next to the art district. So it's great. You have art shows on there on weekends, and it's really a great location because it's accessible to a lot of things. So.
Thank you, Susan and Lucina. Any other questions regarding that contract? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the multifamily set aside from Prisma contract?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Bill. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Mary. Any other discussions associated with the housing contract? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving the contract as presented, please say aye or raise your electronic hand.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition to the contract? Any abstentions? Thank you, Susan. All right, motion carries. Contract approved. Thank you, Lucina.
Thank you.
All right, Now we're going to move on to our committee reports. As you know, we have several advisory committees, and I'd like to have each of them have an opportunity to report on what's activities happening in their committee. But I would ask they be slightly brief since we do have several other presentations this evening. So the first committee ready for report is the Community Relations Legislative Advisory Committee of the Board. Joseph?
Thank you. I'll try to go as fast as I can. During the meeting, Yvonne talked about the virtual grassroots day on the 28th and the 29th. 19 out of 21 regional centers will be participating this year. She also talked about the future outreach to build relationship with legislative. Siren of Silence event will be scheduled on the April 29th. Parent Place Resource Fair will take place at Cortez Park in West Covina on April 30th. And the hiring and retention staff has been a concern for vendor advisory group. Yvonne also talked about the organizational update for communications and public engagement. GOC gave an update regarding Parents Mentor Initiative. She also talked about the training calendar, staff training, critical issue forum. She also attended task force with City of Pomona presentation about the regional center and in-person outreach event with Foothill family. So I'll talk about the monthly report. Nora will have virtual training about educational matter for parents once a month until the end of the year. So I'll talk about the Adriana work with CHLA on pre and post-COVID early intervention participant research project. So I'll also talk about the regional center will start doing bi-monthly training on what intake process is like, what to expect from assessment, what to expect from the transfer to local school district and insurance. South also has started to do purchase of service expenditure reporting. And let's see, partnership with Department of Mental Health 6-week workshop training will start on the April 4th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for your comprehensive and quick report. Appreciate it. Next report will be for the Advisory Committee for Individuals Served in Their Families. And we have co-chairs for that committee, Preeti and Mindy. The floor is yours.
No off.
Preeti, are you here? Would you like to present?
Preeti?
Can you take it, please, Wendy?
Sure, certainly. Good evening, board president, fellow board members, executive president, area managers, and community members. This evening, the Committee for Individuals Served and Family have learned quite a few items. Mainly, our key presentation was on the changes on the appeal process. In a nutshell, the appeal process, which used to be fair hearing, is so much more consumer friendly and less intimidating. All the way from the beginning of the notice of action to the actual hearing to the decision process and thereafter is so much more or less intimidating and user friendly or consumer friendly. So, which is very good news for us consumers. We also heard information on the acquisition that I think Lucina talked about earlier. That's only one of them that we approved today, but the obviously the center is working on various other projects, one of which that they are working on is actually for a building to do orthodontic work, as well as another project. We learned a little bit about the self-directed support for SDP, the pre-enrollment process. We're always concerned, which I'm sure we'll hear from Sal later on, which is a directive for the enhanced service coordination for the low and no POS families. So we're continuing to provide service and outreach to make sure those families get the services. We heard a great deal about the SDP, again, continuously. The center collaboratively with different agency, trying to reach to families to learn about and to get on STB programs or the self-determination. At the flip side, managers are continuing to receive training, one-on-one and otherwise, to ensure service delivery is smooth and that we address all those issues and concerns. Lastly, our training coming up in April. The training is on service coordination. So as family served and individuals, we're always so concerned because our first line of contact with the regional center are our service coordinators. So we're, as a committee, very interested in learning about the training process that they are going through, because they are the people in the trenches doing the work, being the front person contacting with our family. So that's our training for April. In May, we have the training for the Early Childhood Development Unit, 3 to 5 years of age. And I think that unit is working very hard to revamp and to fortify. So we want to learn about all the exciting things they're doing there in May. And then in June, we're learning another very exciting program coming down the pipeline, which is CFS, Coordinated Family Services. So we look forward to the development and more information to come. So those are the trainings for April, May, and June, and we hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Any questions for either Joseph or Wendy before we move on to our final two reports of our advisory committees? Okay, we'll move on now to the Vendor Advisory Committee. Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I have been out of pocket for most of the last month, and I'm so grateful that we have a wonderful VAC committee that has stepped in and led meetings and organized and done a great job in my absence. I'm very grateful for all of them, especially Grace Cano and Nancy Bunker. I don't know if they're here tonight. The VAC really feels like we need to be more visible with the legislators. The vendors are continuing to really struggle to find and retain qualified employees that provide the direct services to many of the individuals served. Some of the vendors are having to create waiting lists. Others are only able to provide some of the hours that individuals are requesting and are authorized to get. So it's been a real struggle ever since the beginning of COVID. So the Vendor Advisory Committee had sort of an organizational brainstorming meeting at the end of February. We have another meeting March 28th. Excuse Brock, my Cheshire cat that kind of comes and goes. That's my son, for anybody who just joined a little later. Anyhow, so there's going to be another meeting on March 28th. We're going to ask individuals served to help us. And if any of the vendors are interested in participating with us, I will put my email in the chat and I'd love to hear from you. And that's our main report.
Susan, I'm happy to report that 2 members from the VAC committee and part of that meeting will be joining the team for grassroots.
Wonderful. I was going to ask it. Wonderful. Thank you, Yvonne. That's great news too. And Yvonne's helping us as well. She's the master and we're grateful to have her input.
Thank you so much. Yvonne, do you want to make a brief announcement about Grassroots Day, just because Joseph mentioned it, but I forgot to ask you to chime in?
Well, we're getting everything squared away. The schedules are being set. In our catchment area, we have 10 representatives. 6 out of the 10 possible appointments have been scheduled. We do have a team that's being represented by individuals served, our members of the VAC committee, which are also part of the brainstorming group that Susan has mentioned. We also have a staff member who's actually also a parent. And so we're kind of representing two areas there. And then we have actually one of your board members is actually joining the team. Karen is actually a part of the delegation this year. Jesse and myself are also on the team, but we're more kind of facilitators more than actual participants. And I met with the coordinators group this earlier today. And so we kind of squared away who's taking the lead in what meetings. And it looks very, very promising. We have a large participation. Unfortunately, another regional center stepped back. So now it's only 18 out of the 21 that are participating, but that's still huge when you think about 21 across California, that 18 out of the 21 are participating. So looking forward to that. In the next few days, I will be having meetings with the teams and kind of going over all of the materials and kind of just getting them, brief orientation and kind of getting them prepared for the day. So once all that is over, I did talk to a couple of individuals possibly to share their experiences with you and some, platform to be able to share their experiences of the event. So
thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And Karen, thank you for representing the board, Susan, the vendors. anyone who's going to it, really excited to have you do that. I actually did grassroots several years ago before the pandemic in Sacramento. It was a very worthwhile experience. So I'm excited for everyone, and it's really, really important. So thank you, Susan, for your report, and Yvonne for your update. The next committee that's going to give a report is the Strategic Development Advisory Committee. And Julie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gigi. Hello, everyone. Our Strategic Development Committee met earlier this month, and this is going to be very brief because during the board president's report, we'll have an update regarding our efforts, our continued efforts with the strategic planning for the entire regional center, and a brief presentation by Amy Sullivan and our consultant, George Stevens. So that pretty much took up the bulk of our meeting this past month, was an update with that for our committee. And that's about it.
Thank you so very much, Julie. Okay, any questions for Julie or Susan? Okay, now moving on to my report. I'm going to make it very brief because we do have several components, and I'm going to put something in the chat actually, just very briefly related to ARCA. Last week was the ARCA meeting of the board delegates, of which I'm one, and also the executive directors and subcommittees of ARCA. Just an announcement that you may recall prior to the pandemic, if you were part of our board or any committee members, you may have attended the ARCA Academy. It was a face-to-face opportunity in Sacramento in 2020, February, just before the pandemic hit its hardest. And so we are going to have another ARCA Academy, and we are actually, San Gabe Pomona Regional Center will be hosting the Southern California component. So there will be one in Northern California at the end of April. And then on May 6th, one will be hosted in Southern California by San Gabriel Pomona Regional Center. And this is a face-to-face event. I'm not certain if they're going to have a Zoom hybrid opportunity. They haven't actually shared that with us. In a minute, I will place in the chat the flyer for that. We hope all of our board members will attend. It's very exciting. It promises to be a really wonderful training opportunity provided by ARCA with the help of some of the executive directors from regional centers across the state. But we're excited that we get to be the host. So thank you, Jesse, for having us do that, and really exciting about that. And thank you, Ardina. Yes, the Association of Regional Center Agencies is ARCA. Thank you. All right. So the second piece that I want to share with you is, you may recall each month for the last couple of months, we've been talking about our ongoing strategic planning efforts. And as you may recall, we have 2 consultants who are helping us with that. We're going to launch a more community-focused and staff-wide and board and committee-wide effort beginning this month. And so I want to introduce our 2 consultants and let them speak briefly about the effort. The first consultant is Mr. George Stevens, and he's with us this evening. He is a former executive director of North Los Angeles County Regional Center. George, would you mind saying a few words about strategic planning? And let me give you a little bit of background regarding George. Yes, indeed, he is a former executive director for North LA County Regional Center for a long, long time, recently retired. He also is very much an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and has really a civil rights focus to his work. So welcome, George. I don't know if you want to say a few words about it.
Well, I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to participate in your strategic planning. As I said to your staff, in a couple of years, the regional center system will be 60 years old. And the system has come such a long way. And I think this strategic planning process will guide this center into the future and continue the good work that's been done. So I'm just excited about this whole process and just what we can do for consumers as we move forward.
Thank you, George. And now I'd like to also introduce Ms. Amy Sullivan. And Amy is actually quite an expert in strategic development. She has worked with nearly every regional center in the state on various efforts, one of which is strategic planning. And she also has worked with ARCA, the Association for Regional Center Agencies. And we are very excited to have her join us as a consultant. And she has a brief presentation. Amy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, President Ragusa. Thank you, board members, for having me. Welcome, everybody. Thank you, community members. I know you guys are in a hurry tonight, so we're just going to do a top line presentation of what strategic planning will look like at Sam Gabe Pomona, and here to answer any questions. So again, thank you very much. And I applaud the center for undertaking a strategic planning process. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Kinetic Flow has been, as President Ragusa has said, pleased to work with all 21 regional centers at one time or another. We've been doing this for over 25 years, have listened to the voices of more than 80,000 Californians with developmental disabilities, staff at many of the regional centers, our service provider, and community partners. Strategic planning is really, it's a roadmap. It's big words, but it's truly just a roadmap that helps intentionally guide us on a path to the forward to the future. Strategic planning gives us an opportunity to reflect what's happening in our community, what's happening with our different stakeholders, and see where we want to go, what's important, what are our priorities, and how do we best get there. Just like a roadmap, a strategic plan gives us milestones to check and see how we're doing or note if we're off course and need to make some adjustments. It also gives us that outcome. It shows us where we're trying to go and really helps us look at the resources. What do we need to get to where we're trying to go? Strategic planning is a big process. As we'll know, it'll take us about the next 6 months or so. And a lot of people ask why we do strategic planning. And strategic planning is a way, as George said, the system is nearly 60 years old and we've come a long way, but we still have a ways to go. And we know that. And so a strategic plan helps us hold to that intent in the middle of whatever life happens, right? As we know in our system, whether it's something coming down from DDS with legislative trailer bills, or we have final rule coming in from the federal government, or different natural disasters coming in, COVID, all these things that come into play for the regional centers that are things that need to be dealt with, but also sometimes distractions. And not that there are distractions intently, sometimes very good and sometimes very bad, but sometimes it takes away our focus from where we're trying to get to. And so a strategic plan really helps us push through the noise that's created in life to make sure we're holding true to our vision and our intent. So because even though life happens, we want to make sure our vision of supporting individuals and families doesn't waver. A good strategic plan should really help the regional center thrive. It should be a supportive document, not something that's placed on externally. It really needs to be generated from our engagement with our stakeholders. It needs to make sure we're representing what's really happening for people, not just what we think is happening, but listening to the voices in our community. It needs to be inclusive and representative. It needs to promote equity through our system. It needs to utilize our collaborative partners, our strengths, everybody that we're in our communities working together. A good strategic plan looks at our history and the momentum. What are things that are going really well for us? Where's missteps we've taken in the past, making sure we don't repeat those. It helps us look across all those opportunities. A good strategic plan doesn't overshoot what we can do, nor does it underpromise to our community. Keeps us right on track with strategic plan is supposed to be a little bit challenging, but not impossible or undoable. And again, includes those promising practices, what's worked really well for San Gabe and our community, for its community partners, and for other regional centers or organizations too, really helping us reflect where we are, where we want to go, and the best path to get there. The strategic planning process that we're going to undergo has 5 steps. The first step is planning the plan. It's truly the nuts and bolts, the logistics of a strategic plan. What do we want it to look like? And what is the process going to be? So it's where we define the next steps. Some of the decisions that came out of this initial step were that it's going to be a 3-year plan that the regional center will create. During the planning process, we will revisit the values, vision, and mission statement. Those are truly the foundational and identity pieces for a regional center. So we want to make sure that those are where we want them to be. And then really looked at who we're going to engage in the plan itself. Who we're going to engage rolls us into phase 2. The information gathering and then looking at that analysis. So as President Ragusa mentioned, we really want to be robust. There are people who have a lot of different opportunities to participate. We also want to make sure that the plan is truly representative. So we'll be doing listening sessions. There will be online surveys. There will be telephone surveys. There's going to be some focus groups in there. And really what we're going to do is reach out to individuals and families served and listen to those voices. And they'll have a number of different ways to participate in a number of different languages. We'll reach out to all the staff and make sure that they're engaged and have a way to provide input, that our service providers can provide input, and our vital community partners have a way to provide input. And of course, that includes all of our board members here as well. So we've listened to people in a number of different ways. And once we have all of their insights and information, we can then bring that information to the board and the leadership team in our phase 3, our setting the strategic priorities. We're going to bring in a full day and a half training or so. We'll bring all of that back and almost have a work group where we'll present to them all the information, everything the community is saying, and help draft those new values, vision, mission, identity pieces, and also help set the priorities for the next 3 years that we'll address in the strategic plan. Once we have those drafts and the strategic areas, we'll move into phase 4, which is developing the strategic actions, which is really the how. So now that we have the areas we're going to prioritize, how are we going to get there? How are we going to push? How are we going to make the change that we want to see? How do we create that? Once we have all those things outlined, including the strategies we're going to adopt, the actions that should be taken, and the outcome measures of how we're going to measure success or measure the change that we see from the plan. And the plan then goes to the board of directors. The board then has an opportunity to revise, and once it's happy where it is, go ahead, approve and adopt the plan, and then it goes into implementation. Once it's implemented, we go into stage 5, which is really that communication and evaluation and monitoring the plan, really implementing it and seeing it through the next couple of years. During this phase, we want to make sure that the community is aware, and throughout the things we've posted on the website, social media announcements and those types of things, but we'll go ahead and post it as well. So community knows there will be annual presentations, usually to the board of directors and the community, on the progress of the plan, the successes that we're seeing and the challenges we're encountering, and how we go through the next 3 years of it. So it's really the 5 basic steps. It's truly not a complex process. It's mostly an organized way of listening to our community, setting priorities, and helping move us in the direction we want to go. I'm going to stop it there because I know you have a full night. There's a fuller presentation that the SDC committee and the executive finance saw, but I am here to answer questions. So please let me know.
Amy, one thing I've always wondered in looking at strategic planning is, how do we roll over the plan? What happens at the end of the 3-year period?
So thank you for the question. Some of the pieces in the plan are really a foundation. And once the foundation is set and the structure is put into place, it continues to move forward. Mm-hmm. Some pieces in a strategic plan are really, as you're kind of saying, a process. And usually after we do a big 3-year plan like this, there will be a continuation of it. So for example, the next 3-year plan doesn't necessarily have to be as engaging, but we'll look at the pieces that we started in this one and see if there are pieces we need to continue, or if it is become enough of the part of the organization, there's enough structure and enough support for it that it will carry on itself. Mm-hmm. And so some of these pieces are actually already happening a little bit. These are just areas that need a little extra help. So some of them will naturally carry on, and some will need to build structures in to continue to do that.
Okay.
Does that
Bill?
help?
Thank you, Bruce. Bill?
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment. I'm going to sound really old, but I've been involved in strategic planning in one form or another for over 40 years, and I have never seen a more inclusive, comprehensive process that we're going through. So just hats off to you, Amy, and to Jesse, and to Gigi, and to Julie for coming in as broad as where we are all about transparency and inclusivity, and I think you're really off to a really, really strong start here. So well done.
Jesse?
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, George. I think the only point I want to just highlight is the opportunity here to really be focused on our vision and moving forward for 2023 and beyond. And what I appreciate about this plan and this process, and especially working with Amy and George in this process, is focusing on ensuring every voice in our community, every stakeholder has some way to engage in this process, which I think is the most critical piece. And so part of our strategy is that thoughtfulness. And part of our managing this is to ensure that we come up with timelines that keep us on track, but also going at a very thoughtful strategy, very thoughtful approach, while I'm still getting acclimated to the center, getting to know our culture here at San Pomona Regional Center. And so there's been a lot of strategy, and I just really appreciate and want to highlight the areas going in to ensure everybody in some way will have a voice and a role in this process. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for that as well.
Thank you, Jesse. Community members, please feel free to ask questions, anything related to anything that we've covered this evening thus far, but certainly regarding the strategic planning effort. I know that Argila has put in the chat that she has her parent leadership and advocacy trainings with us this evening. And if they'd like to ask questions, I'd love during the community input section of the agenda, if she could introduce them and tell us a little bit about that, if you feel comfortable with that, Argila. But certainly it's time for questions from anybody in the community as well.
Hello, hi everybody.
Hi, Tayana.
My name is Tayana. I'm here representing with Ardina. And what you guys just talked about, I think is a very important program that we need in the community. As a mother of a son with special abilities, I have had nothing but successes through regional centers. And it's really amazes me because some parents, they don't know about regional center. So one of the questions I have is, if we don't feel like we're being treated equally, how do we address that? And what steps do we take? As the African-American woman, me having successes with regional center, and I'm a parent mentor to the special needs community, and I share different resources, and they're like, I don't know about regional center. What is regional center? So it just puzzles me because I'm like, huh? What? So as the African-American community, or just the communities, period, just different communities and just people within the communities, how do we address or how do we reach out to different communities, different cultures about regional center? Because there's a lot of people who don't know about regional center and the services that they provide.
That's really important that you brought that up, Tayana, and appreciate you telling us about that. It is an ongoing education and outreach effort that the Regional Center has, both through our staff, but also through our Family Resource Center, et cetera. We want you to participate and provide feedback. We're going to have various opportunities for a strategic development, but I thought maybe Jesse or Yvonne could address additional outreach efforts that we have to make certain, or maybe even Tim, to make certain that we address the issues of all of our community members, including the African-American community. That's so important. Go ahead, Jesse or Yvonne or Tim.
I would like to start with our values when I hear these types of questions as a center, which is to ensure that we engage with everybody that we serve, and in particular with all of the efforts that we're doing as a regional center and even statewide to really reach all voices, underserved communities. So I'm very proud to say that we have an entire service access and equity team, a full department here at the regional center focused on these very topics. I know I see Ardina here. We work really closely with Ardina and many other partners as well to make sure that we're ultimate goal increasing access to regional center services, and also finding opportunities for us to get information out and bringing information to communities on your very point about what is a regional center and how do I qualify. So we have so many different groups. We hold community meetings. So we'd love for you to get connected to our monthly meetings that we're holding for community meetings. And then also I'm thinking of the voice going through the strategic planning process of ideas, strategies, recommendations for us to reach more people and how to get connected. So just some of the initial thoughts that come to mind, but I appreciate the question in that regard.
Thank you, Jesse. Anybody else from the staff want to add to that?
I was going to say that, we also reach out to doctors, to hospitals, to our NICU units, especially for children who are born prematurely, to see if parents need assistance and looking to see whether they qualify for regional center. I know Sal and I are working with First Five to identify that. We are always invited to cities like City of Pomona to talk about our services. And then we have specifically community outreach specialists through the South Division that do that. We're even, Parents Place is going to have a fair at Cortez Park in April. That's going to be a big outreach activity where the community is going to be able to have contact with us, with Parents Place. And we're going to have pamphlets and our own discussion there so we can do some outreach. So we do a lot of those community outreach activities regularly. Health fairs, all of those city-sponsored activities that we participate in.
And even our outreach with elected officials, that has also been favorable to us too, in the sense that some of our even mayors and elected folks in the Assembly and the Senate, their local offices also do a lot of outreach for us as well. So,
thank you all. Thank you so much, and thank you for the question, Tayana. Very important. Any other questions or comments associated with that? Great. Thank you so much, both George and Amy, for talking about the upcoming strategic planning efforts. We're all very excited about that, and we want as broad community participation as possible. So look to us as you begin to get some notices about some of the efforts that we will have for our strategic planning. Great. Okay, moving on now to our executive director's report. Jesse, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gigi. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to share my screen here. And let's see, can everybody see my report? I can zoom in a little bit. Is that okay or too big?
It's fine. It just mostly shows the header, so you probably want to roll it a bit.
Okay, hopefully this works. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to hit on some main points. And then if there's any questions, please, it may take me a second to see coming in here, but I will get to questions as well. But nice to see everybody, and I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy, and also staying safe in the rain. I don't know if it's raining at the moment. I can't hear it, but it could be. So please be safe if you're on the roads this evening. Starting off with a few state and local updates. COVID-19, I put some information here. We know the state of emergency has ended February 28th. And I included a little bit of feedback from the public health department just on some of the reduction, some of the services as we continue to navigate forward. So that information is available here in the report for you. I also put on here, I think, something very exciting that I would like to share with everybody regarding the Mental Health Service Act request. There are funds available for regional centers only through the Department of Developmental Services for the upcoming fiscal years, 23 through 26, really looking at the intersect of mental health and behavioral health, mental health for individuals that need extra supports. And regional centers have the opportunities to submit proposals. They were due on Friday, March 17th. And San Gabe, in partnership with ARCA, as we mentioned earlier, the Association of Regional Center Agencies, submitted a joint project together to look at the intersects between regional center, law enforcement, behavioral health, and alcohol and substance abuse, which is often tied with county mental health, to look at a statewide initiative to bring more awareness and collaboration between all of these entities that are critical to support individuals served by the regional center, to share information. So we're looking at conferences, we're looking at some statewide initiatives, and also proposing to look at some local work to be done to ensure that each regional center across the state, with San Gabe taking the lead here, to help support other regional centers, including ours, of how to really partner and ensure that all of these entities are communicating and to serve people effectively. So it's just a proposal, just a grant. So we hope, hopeful that it will go through, but very proud of the regional center here to be able to take the lead in such an important project. And a big shout out to our forensic team here at the regional center and Dr. Mouton, our psychologist here, who are very helpful in this development process, and members of the team. So we'll keep the community updated. Tonight you will get a presentation, so I won't spend too much time on the purchase of service meeting. So Sal and his team will go over this important data. Just want to highlight the initiatives the center is doing to meet our statutory requirements to hold public meetings regarding our data and expenditures as a regional center. So that will be coming up after my presentation. LAUSD, we put a communication out on behalf of the center just in the event anybody was impacted by the potential strikes and closures that you may have seen on the news and are hearing about. We're tracking it carefully. LAUSD is not within our catchment area, but we wanted to be extra sure just in the event anybody is served by LAUSD, if anybody had any impact, that they know to contact us, that we're here to support, and so we can do some program planning if needed. So we've been checking in and advertising this in our community as well, just in terms of anybody needs supports. We've already talked about Sirens of Silence earlier, very excited. So save the date for April 29th. We also talked about Parents' Place as well. So that information is here as a reminder. And tomorrow, really important day for our service system. There is a Senate budget and fiscal review hearing tomorrow, tentatively scheduled for 9:30 in the morning. It could go later, it depends. And the reason this is critical is it's going to talk about funding for our service system. And we're also going to hear the core staffing formula introduced and have discussion tomorrow, which is huge for our system. This has been a long time coming. And so we're going to be tracking that very carefully. When I get done with my presentation, I'll put the link so people can have access to that into the chat when I get a moment here. But I just want to remind everybody of that hearing tomorrow. And Grassroots Day we talked about, so reinforcing the importance of Grassroots Day coming up. I did put some language in here for your reference around an important bill that is being discussed at a statewide level, known as AB 1147. Lots of numbers and letters, but really it means the Disability Equity and Accountability Act. And it's a way of really transforming our service system in there. So this is on the homepage of ARCA if you want to read the bill in detail. It's 56 pages, but it is available for individuals who want to read about all the different areas of our system. And I tried to do a summary here, kind of like a snapshot to tell you a little bit about what's going on within that particular bill. And I want to scroll down to a few directives that are very important for our service system. Their parental fee program. The parental fee program is an ongoing fee that's assessed for families. It has been on pause during the pandemic. And as of March 1st, due to the state of emergency ending, this fee is back in place again because that state of emergency has been lifted. Very specific to individuals 18 years and younger who reside in out-of-home care 24/7, based on family size, based off of annual gross income for families. And so we're just communicating to the community about this update. We've already notified families who might be assessed in this area. So we've already sent out those communications. So just putting this on here as a reminder for that parental fee. There's different types of fees for families, and this is one that has been resumed. So if you do have a child in out-of-home placement, you can expect to see some documentation from the department directly to you in June. And if you have any questions, we're here to provide supports. We also wanted to highlight enhanced service coordination. We recently received a directive from the department providing some updates on those 1 to 40 caseloads specific to individuals who have $2,000 or less for no purchase of service, individuals who are not receiving services with us at the regional center. And the department gave 3 updates. One is that they're going to begin giving us quarterly reports so we can track potential participants who qualify for this particular unit. They're also going to be sending out a survey known as the, more acronyms here, the Enhanced Service Coordinator Experience Questionnaire, the ESC. This is a questionnaire that will be going to individuals served and families within this enhanced unit if you're served in this 1 to 40 ratio at different intervals. when you begin every 12 months and before you exit, looking at how this program is working. What did you learn? Was it helpful? And giving an opportunity to look at how effective these programs are. But again, the goal is to get increased access to services. If you're not accessing services, what are we doing to help support to get the services and supports that are needed out there? So we've had these in place. Our team is doing a really good job within these units that we have. We have 5 dedicated units here, and this is just an update to that program. And let's see, I'm doing hopefully okay on time. I think I'll do just a few more updates here. I'm very excited about this next one. It's about cultural sensitivity and competency in cultural and ethnic diversity training. So regional centers have the opportunity to develop a curriculum with stakeholder feedback to submit to the department for review. Ultimately, what this means is for service coordinators, first line supervisors, and intake and mission staff to be able to get trained in these areas. So there's a lot of initiatives within here between 2023 going up to 2025 over the next few years. And if regional centers achieve this initiative, get people trained, there can be performance measures awarded to the regional center, which means more operations, which means more recruiting that we can do as a center. So very exciting there. I did put some language in here on some updates regarding for individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing and regional centers' responsibilities to provide auxiliary aids and assistance to individuals served. So there's a directive out there. It's on the DDS website. It might be on our homepage already. We've been updating these on our homepage as well to make it easy for people to get to, but there is an update there. And we covered SDP pretty extensively earlier. So know that the department has streamlined the vendorization process for individuals getting pre-enrollment supports across the state by just requiring a few documents at each regional center so it's consistent. So again, that information is in the board report. And then I'm going to summarize with just a few SandGate updates that are specific. As of February 28th, we have 435 authorized positions. We are growing as an organization, 404 full-time employees and 31 vacancies currently. And you'll see a list in there of all of our recruiting. It's also on our website if you want to see all of our growth that we've been doing to support the flux of growth we've had as a center. So just an update on our stats. We are currently serving 15,830 individuals. So we're almost getting to that 16,000. We're increasing the number of individuals, and you can see that reflected in our intake numbers every month. We're bringing more people into our system, which is fantastic. That means people are getting served and getting services. So you have that data. SDP, as of February 28th, it was 101. That number has increased already in March. So we're continuing to see more people get into the program. We've covered our social rec grants and other committees. So in the package, you do have a list of the awarded individuals and organizations getting projects. So big shout out to Lucina and to Community Services for getting these going. I saw a few service agreements come in to me today already to sign off on. So they're going quickly. So I appreciate that. And I wanted to do, I think I just got 3 more, just a few face coverings. You may have seen a communication come out from me on behalf of the center that we no longer require face coverings or masks at our business office at the regional center. If people want to, you absolutely are encouraged. We have plenty of supplies if you need them, but it's no longer a requirement. But we did specify that if any of our staff go to your homes, or if we do meetings, go out to the community, we will have face coverings available because we want to respect individuals' choice. And we want to respect going into homes. People have different comfort levels with face coverings and masks, and we want to be respectful. And so I just want to identify the difference between our business office versus going to homes. And we also put language to support our service providers who are doing fantastic work in the homes, that they have their own policies and procedures that they follow. And we're going to defer to their policies when we go out to programs, and of course, defer to licensing if there's certain requirements. So just wanted to make the distinction there between our business office for face coverings. And then the last two updates I have are meetings. We've held weekly meetings during the pandemic for vendors and providers. They were every Monday. And then during the pandemic for a couple of years, we've held meetings weekly on Tuesdays for the community. And through surveys and through feedback, we're recalibrating to now switch those to monthly. So we've been announcing, we've been working with the community. We heard the feedback. We want to thank everybody for the surveys that were received. And so we're transitioning. Again, it's a strength of our service system, moving out of the emergency and crisis that we were in. But I want to reinforce our commitment to our community being available, making sure information is available through those meetings and maximizing our current groups and support groups as well. So I hope I didn't take too much time, but I wanted to make sure I got through this important information. Any questions for me?
Yeah, Jesse, do we require the people who use our services to be vaccinated in their families?
We don't require vaccines, and public health also released as of April 3rd coming up, they will no longer enforce or require public health workers or officials to be vaccinated either or boosted.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jesse regarding his report? Seeing and hearing none, we will move on. We have another presentation by Sal Gonzalez and his team regarding POS expenditures and the national core indicators. Sal, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, board members, and community members. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So the first presentation is going to be on the National Core Indicator Survey for the Adult In-Person Survey, which was for the fiscal year 2020-2021. The National Core Indicator is a tool that has been used in California since 2010 when the state implemented a national-wide quality assessment survey. So what we do is we provide nationally validated benchmarks, consist reliable and measurable data for DDS, quality management system, and also enable DDS and all regional centers to compare the performance of California's developmental services system against other state developmental service systems and to assess quality and performance among all regional centers. And at the end of this, what I'll do is I'll show you where you can find that. That's under our governance. If you click on that button, you go under transparency, and you'll have the option to press the button National Core Indicator, and there's an option where it'll take you straight to the department's website. Trade bill language, which was effective statute for the fiscal year 2021. It talks about Welfare and Institute Code 4571 was amended in 2019 to require regional centers to annually present data collected from the National Core Indicator findings. We're required to presentations at a public meeting. This is what we're doing today. And we also are required to a notice to be posted on regional center internet websites and to be sent out to individuals, served families, and stakeholders. We've got the support of our Yvonne Gratiani, who this information is on our website and also went out. We're required to report on this information that we're presenting today, and we'll actually send this report to the Department of Developmental Services within 60 days of today's meeting. So in regards to the information that you're going to be hearing about, 412 adult in-person surveys were completed. The adult in-person surveys is conducted in a face-to-face with individuals who is 18 or older and receives at least one service from the regional center in addition to case management. Questions include how many individuals feel or how individuals feel about where they live and work and the kind of choices they make, the activities they participate within their community, and their relationships and their health and well-being. And then the next slide, you'll see some of those questions from the survey. These are some of the ones we're just going to highlight, and you'll see some of the information that we got from this. But of course, this is a more detailed report, so you could find that on the department's website under our regional center. So if you look at the individuals that completed this survey, California average for completion was 40.57%. We actually had 40.87, which was pretty good. It's a little bit above the state average. Between the ages of 18 to 22, as you could see, we had 8%, 23 to 34, we had 35%, 35 to 54, we had 35%, 55 to 74, we had 21%, and 75 and above, we had 2%. So in regards to the males that completed the survey, we had 56% and females 44%. This is a breakdown in regards to race of the individuals that completed the survey in comparison to the California state average, which is right in the middle. So our information is to the far right. And this PowerPoint is also in today's material, so please take a look at that if you want to just get some information. And then I'll have one of our team members put my information on the chat, so in case you have any comments or just want to provide some feedback on this. Now, in regards to access and friends and family, so one of the questions was, do you feel that your staff have the right trainings to meet your needs? So as you could see, based on the California average, it was 91%. We were at 87%, yes, and we were at 3% no, maybe 10%. Friends and family, do you have friends that you like to talk to or do things with? Statewide average was at 74%. We were at 75% of the individuals that completed this as yes, 14% as no, does not have friends. And then yes, all the friends and staff or families cannot be determined was 11%. Rights and respects, can you use a phone or internet when you want? So you could see based on our California average was at 95%. We were at exactly 95%. Yes, they could use the phone and internet, and then 5% no. Do your staff treat you with respect? The statewide average was at 96%. We were at 97%. Sometimes, or some staff, we were at 3%, and then no, we had 1%. In regards to community participation, how many times do you go out to eat in the past month? So if you look at the statewide average, again, it's right in the middle. 0 times, 53%. We were at 57. 1 to 2, 21%. We were at 24. 3 to 4 times, 14% for California statewide average. We were at 12. And then 5 or more times, 12%, and we were at 8. But one of the things that you have to also look at is during this time, we were definitely, having that pandemic, really affect some of the things. So, we also have to look at that information. In the past year, did you go on vacation? Statewide average was at 24%. We were at 22. Yes, and then no, 78%. In regards to employment and day programs, do you go out to your day program or shelter workshop? And then, if you look at, again, the statewide average was 42%. We were at 43%. In regards to no, 58% in comparison to us, we were at 57%. Do you take classes, trainings, or do something to help you get a job or a better job, or do you do better at your job you have now? Again, statewide average was at 25%. We're at 24. Yes, and then no, 76%. Do you like where you live? Our individuals answered yes, 91%, no, 4%, and in between 5%. Are services and supports helping you live a good life? Statewide average was at 91%. We were at 88, and then no, 3%, and in between 9%. Are there staff or a family member at your home where you live who speak your preferred language? Yes was 93% for our information, 6% no, 1% sometimes. Are there staff at your day program or work program who speak your preferred language? We were at 98%, yes, no, 2%. Do your staff support you in a way that is respectful to your culture? That's one of the things that, this is a great number in regards to 99% felt yes in regards to the people that answered for our regional center, and then 1% sometimes. Did you get a copy of your IPP in your preferred language? We were right at that statewide average, which was 91% yes, 9% no. These are some of the other questions that we just kind of extracted from that information. But I really invite you to take a look at this to really kind of see how some of this information is being answered by the adult individuals. And then the nice part about it, it was in person. It was face-to-face. Mm-hmm. So, of course, as I indicated, during COVID time, these were some of the challenges that we were definitely being affected by. But the neat part about it is you could see a lot of the percentages in regards to the technology being used. You could see high numbers, and I really believe that part of the lending library, all the efforts that were taken upon us helping, just getting those iPads to some of our families was really an important thing for us. But if any of these you have questions, please let me know.
Are there questions for Sal? You will also notice that Amos put Sal's contact information in the chat feature. So if someone has a question arises later regarding a presentation, you can ask him via email or phone. Mm-hmm.
This graph you'll just see in regards to additional services needed, requested. So as you can see, one of the things that we're performing really high in regards to education and training, healthcare coordination, dental care coordination, assisted finding, maintenance of changing homes, and the residential support services. And then a few that I'm going to just kind of pick here in regards to some of the areas that we will also focus on, because you also have to look at some of the data of where you feel it's a bit, you're underperforming in regards to this information. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we work in regards to as a team at our regional center. And this is the information we're going to be planning on, focusing on, and trying to figure out how can we improve in these areas. And as I indicated, the report will be submitted to the Department of Developmental Services within 60 days of today's training. This presentation is in your materials. And if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, please, send me an email, and we're going to make sure that we actually take that as comments by our community. So I'm really, excited in case, based on anything you want to share with us.
You say it was in our materials. It wasn't in the board packet, though. Right.
Right. It wasn't in the board packet, but it is in your materials in that link that I sent you.
The link. Okay. All right. Sal, do you think that our performance indicators would be to be informed by the breadth of experience shown in the national core indicators? Maybe we should add some of these to the performance indicators we get every year.
Yeah, one of the things is that we really kind of work closely with that liaison for our regional center. Mm-hmm. We felt that we gave this information not only to our groups, our parent resource center, but they also came and did presentations throughout our community meetings, and came and did presentations to our departments, making sure that when this information was sent out to families, that it wasn't just looked upon as junk mail. We wanted to make sure that they really took the time to get this information, but also register to do these surveys.
Okay.
Jesse, you wanted to add a comment?
Yes, thank you, Sal, for presenting. And Bruce, I like your question, and I think you're absolutely right. We can look at the data from NCI and see how it can inform our performance contract, because within our performance contract as a regional center, we have the opportunity to pick local measures that are important to our stakeholders, and that can help inform some of those areas too. So I can see some synergies between that as well.
So right now I'm sharing my screen. So as you can see, this is our website. If you click on the National Core Indicator Survey information, it'll send you to what we have on our website in regards to information for our National Core Indicator. And then if you click on the one right below the Department of Developmental Service website, if you click on this, it'll take you straight to the department's website. If you click on survey results, you'll be able to click on any of these reports, and it'll take you straight to our information for our regional center. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, well, thank you. I'm gonna move on to our performance, our POS expenditure.
Thank you, Sal.
Okay, so this is the purchase to service expenditure data for fiscal year 2021-2022. These are the agenda items for today that we're going to be going over.
Excuse me.
And a little bit of background, as of June 27, 2012, the Lanterman Developmental Disability Service Act was amended. It requires the Department of Developmental Services and regional centers to annually collaborate to compile data in uniform manners relating to the purchase of service, authorization, utilization, and expenditure by each regional center. The data has become known as the POS disparity data. The data may or may not show a disparity, and SGPRC posts these reports on our website and an annual purchase of service expenditure report. These reports are included information about authorization and utilization as well as expenditure, and we are required to post this report on our website by December 31st. And at the end of the presentation, we'll kind of walk you through as where you can find this report as well. Very detailed report, so I invite you to please take a look at it. In regards to the demographics, SGPRC's population of people with disabilities is diverse. The percentage of individuals served by SGPRC is in each ethnic racial groups appear to mirror the trend seen of the community at large, taking into account the data used from comparison in regards to our census for 2020. And we continue to make outreach in all areas, as well as focusing with in our Asian community. So as you can see here in regards to the census based on the information from 2020 on the people that live in our catchment area. But one of the things that I want to let you know in regards to, because I know there was a question in regards to outreach, but as you could see from the fiscal year 2016 to this report, we definitely had a 15.15% increase in regards to the individual served. But we continue to make those efforts and making sure that we go into every pocket in regards to our catchment area to make sure that our families are aware of who we are. But one of the efforts is also working with our local daycares, preschools, pediatrician offices, as well as hospitals. And we're definitely making efforts in regards to working with collaborative groups, but also through that helped me grow a First Five program. This is in regards to the POS, no POS for all ages in comparison by ethnicity. So one of the things that I really want you to focus on is to your far right, in regards to, this is all ages. So from the 16,278 that was presented at the end of the year that's posted, we had 4,073 individuals with no POS, 12,205 with POS. So that put us at a percentage of 25% of the individuals served with no POS. And there could be factors in regards to whether it's generic resources or other services utilized through the individual or their families as well. Now, this is in comparison to where these individuals are at. So if you look at living in the home, we have 13,408. Living in ILS, SLS, 576. In the State Developmental Center, we currently have 3. Health facilities, 527. Foster family homes, 430. Other, 109. And CCFs, 1,225. Now, in regards to the comparison of POS expenditure by living options in regards to, the fiscal year 19 to now. But really what I want you to focus on is from the 13,798 individuals we served as last year, our spending living at home was $115,701,300 in comparison to the 2,480 that were living out of home. The spending was $155,872,191. Total spending for our POS was $271,573,491. So one of the things that Bruce did talk about in regards to the performance contract, performance measures, and as you look at this one, which is measure 20, no POS and reducing the disparity and promoting equity. So we're really going to focus for each age group, the number of percentage of individuals receiving no POS when comparing ethnic, racial groups for those living at home with their families will decrease over the previous year. So our hope is to continue to close that gap in disparity. And if a family is not utilizing services, we want to make sure that they're utilizing the generic resources that are here within our catchment area to making sure that we support these individuals. So now this is in comparison to no POS for ages 0 to 2. So as you can see, total number, we had 3,192. 130 didn't have POS, which puts us at 4.1. This is honestly a really good number. And we're very excited about these type of numbers for our regional center. So I know our Early Start program does a really good job here. Now, this is per capita. So if you really look at, what we're spending per individual, you could see it's a really good percentage of increase. So what we're going to do is just focus on our total numbers. So we look at the far right in regards to per capita of individual. We've improved our spending by 31% from fiscal year 15-16 in comparison to 21-22. Now we're looking at the no POS for ages 3 to 21. So as you can see, 4.1 for the 0 to 2, this one definitely increased to 37.1% of no POS. One of the things that you're going to definitely, come across is once that child turns 3, a lot of our services are now moving over to generic resources, such as your local school district, private insurance, Medi-Cal, to provide some of the behavioral treatment, which in the past we were providing. But I think that what leads to this, it's our job to make sure that we bring, these partners, whether it's, private insurance, Medi-Cal, such as HealthNet, LA Care, which right now we have liaisons to come to our regional center to do presentations. We actually just did one. But also to show not only our staff, but our community on how to access these insurance companies to access their services. One of the other things is also for us to work in partnership with all our local school districts. We have an education specialist and a transition liaison that are constantly giving trainings to our staff on how to access this. But at the same time, they're actually making efforts in attending a lot of school district community meetings, coffee with the directors throughout our local school districts, to making sure that we're letting the school districts know in regards to the type of services we're providing. So that way there's not that tug of war of who should be providing services. We should all know what we're supposed to be providing, and we should all be here working, holding hands and supporting the individuals we serve. So I feel that the 37.1%, we're looking at no POs, but I feel that this is an age range where a lot of services also fall over to our generic resources.
Mm-hmm.
So in regards to per capita, as you can see in your far right, from a comparison of 15 to 16 to now, we saw a 54% increase. So even though our POS definitely increased, but as you can see per capita, per individual, we definitely increased our spending. And these are, things that we're looking at to making sure, how are we doing in these areas? So now we're moving over to ages 22 and up. So as you can see, these are the individuals that are currently living in their home, but also in regards, or 22 and up. And also we have a comparison of the individuals, but also based on living at home. So we look at our Asian individuals served. We have 727 from last year. 585 of those, which was 80%, are currently living in the home. So if you look at that kind of beige number, those are the individuals that are currently living in their home that are over the age of 22. And you'll see in the next graph it's a little easier to read. But in regards to the no POS for ages 22 and up, as you can see, this one definitely decreased to the 22.7% of no POS from the 6,329 individuals. And I feel that this is why, once they've kind of gotten through that school program, now we're kind of supporting with day programs, work programs, or, just trying to support through their local colleges and also through other programs such as, employment, paid internship programs, things like that we do for our adults. So in regards per capita for 22 and up, you can see a 45% increase to the far right. So again, these are numbers that we're looking at in comparison to when all this started. And, definitely went from $8,374 to $12,184 per individual. Now, one of our measures that we're also focusing on in our performance contract is, again, reducing that disparity and promoting equity. So in regards to the things that we're looking at is just making sure that we're supporting these families in providing this type of information, to making sure that there's no reason for our families not to be utilizing our services. As you see, a lot of our individuals 22 and up are still currently living in their home. So for us, it's our job to make sure that we continue to provide those services for them to stay in their home if that's what the family and the individual needs, or if they decide to move to another type of setting, that we're providing those same type of services. But in order for that to happen, is the service needs to be provided. We're also utilizing comments and recommendations from these community meetings to inspire and guide the direction of our regional center to provide progress towards equity, continue to apply for equity grants, continue to support equity partners, and continue outreach to all ethnicities to increase individuals served, with SGPRC emphasizing on all our communities, as one speaker said earlier. But one of the things that I could share with you is that we've actually done this presentation already in regards to our people with deaf and hard of hearing, individuals served. We've also presented this to our Black African American community, our Chinese community, our Korean community, and then we'll be doing a presentation this Saturday to our Vietnamese community. So we're really providing a lot of opportunities based on language, in regards to this information. SGPRC will continue to disseminate written materials in a variety of languages, in addition to providing client family training opportunities to understand these specific needs, work on developing community partners that can provide expert support and trainings to parents and service coordinators and staff. And you'll see one of our speakers later on, we'll talk a little bit about how we're being able to do this written material in a variety of languages. We'll also continue to use that person-centered thinking approach in regards to the IPP, IFSP to assist and build better working relationships with the individuals and their families. And then we continue to post to our website and make available current purchase of service policies and POS summaries of service options organized by age groups in English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese.
Sal, I hate to interrupt you, but we do have an ESL interpreter with her hand up, and I'm assuming that might be rather urgent given she's interpreting. Go ahead.
Yes, the team of interpreters were only scheduled until 9 o'clock, and we've gone past, but it's a hard stop. I know we both have very early days tomorrow.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're very welcome.
We will also explore increasing our use of social media to increase communication about parent trainings and support opportunities and other events associated with the regional center. And we will collaborate with our vendor and provider community to do some of the following. We are going to encourage them to recruit and hire more office staff and direct staff providers who speak other languages other than English. Encourage vendors to bill in a timely manner so the utilization reports are as accurate as possible. One of the things that we're also going to be doing is coffee with the directors, but this is something through our language access and cultural competency team. These are listening sessions in regards to, just being able to give that space to the people that speak these languages to be able to share, whatever might, be something that might be able to help not only them, but their neighbors. So for us is we're going to be able to utilize these listening sessions to continue to improve our efforts in regards to outreach, disparity, all this. So two of the grants that we were approved for was the Parent Mentor Initiative and the Language Access Cultural Competency. And our Parent Mentor Initiative, as you can see in the next slide, is really overseen by our community outreach specialist, Josie Martinez. So this is one of the programs that we're working with through Alma Family Services, where we have parents that are the parent mentors. So if a service coordinator senses that the family might need a little extra support, another layer of support, we're utilizing our parent mentors. And these are parents that, are currently part of our system or have been regarding their son or daughters. But the fact is that sometimes just coming from a parent, supporting another parent might be able to be more useful, even though there is a time constraint to this. One of the things that we're hoping to build around this program as parents graduate from this is to build a parent support group for these individuals. So as you can see in the bottom data, all the individuals that we've been able to support or the mentoring hours as well. So we have one of our language access cultural competency, and I'll let her introduce herself and share on these next two slides.
Thank you, Sal. Good evening, communities. My name is Tiffany Long. I am one of the language access specialists. Under this new LACC grant from DDS, we are very excited to have this grant to be better support our individual and families in their language needs. Luz and I both are the language access specialists here in our regional center, even though we focus on different language needs and different communities, but we do work together as a team in the project that we're going to show you later in the next slides. Ever since we started, we have been very busy developing some new interpretation and translation resources and be able to coordinate and provide a lot of interpretations in many of our community meetings, including these board meetings, workshops and trainings to the families in different languages, ASL, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Spanish. So we really hoping that having this interpretation to different workshops to make this information and the trainings more accessible to our families. We're also working on translating many of the flyers and brochures that Regional Center have and make it available to our community as well. Another big project that we are working on is working with a consulting company to be able to conduct surveys and listening sessions regarding to the language and cultural needs to listen to the community and better understand the needs so that we can better, we can know how to improve our regional center services. Under the DDS LACC directive, we also are required to coordinate staff training regarding to culture sensitivities. So we are working on that as well to look for different of our speakers to provide this training to our staff. Last but not the least, we are also the support to our SC, our staff, and our family individuals when they're probably has cultural language needs. If their SC is not speaking their language, you guys can always reach out to us. We will be one of the resources in the regional center to bridge the family with the case managers. Thank you, Sal.
Thank you, Tiffany. One of the things that you'll also be able to find through this grant that we received is we made our website. We were able to work with this program called Recite Me. So if you've visited our website, you might see this little icon hovering through your first page or through any page that you happen to be on. What you could do is click on that icon and it'll create this toolbar. And if you go to this symbol right here, what it'll do, it'll actually populate different languages that you could access our website through. Now, if that language has a speaker, then that actually, you can click on that and it'll actually read the page for you in that language. So I invite you to, see this, but it has all these other ADA compliance through this toolbar that you could really kind of make our website obtainable to any need that you might have. This is our team in regards to service access and equity. I'll have Amos speak in regards to the community outreach real briefly, but this is some of the team members that we work with in regards to our outreach. Amos?
Hi, I'm Amos Bayan. Actually, I was so excited when I hear how do we reach out to the community, because that's how we've been doing it. So one of the examples is we go out to the pediatrician. It's something like a Pomona Pediatrics. So disseminate all the information about the regional center for them to just kind of refer our regional center services intakes to the child or infant. They need our services. And also I go out to the radio station like Radio Korea and other radio station to let the community know that a regional center is one of the common information for somebody with a developmental disability. That's how we've been trying to reach out to the general public, because we want to increase some more people with a developmental disability served by the regional center. And also the other thing I'm working is just increasing the equity in our POS services among all the ethnic group. So I organize all the workshops and trainings for the support groups and also the other groups in the community. So that's how we work together to increase the equity in our POS services. If you have any questions, I'm going to put my the contact information in the chat, so for you to ask me some more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Amos. So now, I know we mentioned earlier in regards to specialized caseloads. I'm going to have Jessie Romero share a little bit since she supports in this area. Jessie?
Thank you, Sal. Good evening, everyone. Yes, we currently have 5 dedicated enhanced service coordinator caseloads. The focus is on no, low, and low POS under $2,000, and they are a ratio of 1 to 40. We also have 4 self-determination program service coordinators with a ratio of 1 to 40, and 3 deaf and hard of hearing service coordinators with a ratio currently of 1 to 50. We also have 2 participant choice specialists, and they do not hold caseloads.
Yeah, so these are opportunities that if through the case management area, if they sense that there's a need, we're putting those caseloads there. But also, as you see, that they're going to probably last no more than a year. But we're making sure that we're trying every effort to making sure that no family or no individual, any of the needs don't go unmet. Now, some of our equity partners that we work with, this information is also found in our monthly report for our department. It has all their contact numbers, their emails next to them. So in case you have to reach out to any of these groups, by all means, we'll be more than happy to help you access them. I know Ardina is here from Access Nonprofit Center, which is an amazing equity partner for us. But these are information that when we get trainings, we get flyers, we're sending to them so that way they can send to you. And I can tell you that they do an amazing job in supporting us as a regional center. This is another page in regards to the individuals that are equity partners that we work with. But we also work with other parent support groups that are very helpful to us. And I know Wendy's one of them that's here. And we really appreciate all the efforts that you guys do for us as a regional center. Now, this is just a flyer from last year in regards to our critical issues forums. But one of the things that we're very happy about that mid-year last year, once we got this LACC grant, we were able to provide a lot of these trainings in different languages. It was being presented in English, but with interpretation in Spanish, Korean, Chinese, Vietnamese, as well as American Sign Language. And we continue to do that now. One of the things through our critical issues that we're doing this year, and we actually just made this presentation to our executive director, Jesse, we're recording these critical issues because we're listening from you as a community that sometimes I can't attend these. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting these videos through, whether it's our website or however we're going to be doing this. But you're going to see these videos also in closed caption. So if you need another language there, or you're deaf and hard of hearing where you need the closed caption in English, these videos are going to be posted so that way you could always access them and they'll be there throughout. So we're very excited about that. This is, this kind of from last year's POS expenditure data. As you can see, we definitely make the efforts of presenting this information throughout, but also through all the ethnicity groups that we serve. Now, as I indicated earlier, we're going to show you how to access this information. So this is our website. If you press on the button to your right of the website, governance, it's going to take you to transparency and access to public information. You click on that. You're going to be able to press on the annual purchase of service expenditure report. Once you click on that, you can click on the most current report. All the reports that you'll see there throughout the years are still on our website. But this information is going to take you to this next page, which is a very detailed report that we're getting this information for today's presentation from, but very detailed report in regards to what the department gives to us as a regional center. So again, one of the things that we're looking for is any type of input or comments you might have. We've put our information on the chat. I know that based on time, please, if you email me, we'll make sure that we actually copy those as comments in our report for this presentation. And we want to just say thank you for the time and appreciate that all you do for us as a board, but also as a community, because again, we do because of the 15,000+ people that we serve, and we're very honored to do what we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sal and team members, for that very comprehensive and informative report. It's really exciting that we are, closing some gaps for purchase of service in particular for particular groups. That's exciting to see. It was pretty challenging several years back. So even with the pandemic, we're making some closures in terms of gaps in service provision. And we're also really grateful to your team for all of the outreach efforts that you have. It's also really exciting that there's some of those equity grants got funded, and that you're working very closely with the different community groups that are helping our particular outreach efforts as well. It's a really challenging effort, but I can see by the numbers that it's working. So thank you so much for that important presentation. Any other questions or comments for Sal and his team? Yes, Karen.
Hi, Sal. Thank you so much for that information. I was really struck by some of those numbers. I know on my own, I wanted to find out, do you guys reach out to the daycares? I know sometimes that community, sometimes there are some daycares that kind of like are much more in tune with some of the other minority groups or underrepresented groups. I know, for example, for me, my son went to a daycare that was run by a Filipino director, and she's the one who really kind of brought us onto the regional center. I'd never heard of it. And so it was sort of that cultural trust between, because she has a child on the spectrum. She let us know, that there might be something that we want to look at. And so I find that there's that kind of cultural bond that happens. So, for me, myself, and I would be happy to become a parent mentor if that's something that would reach out to a lot of families of Asian descent. Myself, again, being Filipino American, I have no problem reaching out. Every time someone comes to me, it's something where they don't know anything about what to do, what their next steps are, how to navigate the system. So I'm happy to help out in that way as well.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. So, Karen, it's so important that you say that. And I know that many board members have engaged in that effort. So thank you for joining the cause. It's really, really, really important. Any other comments or questions? And apologies to Sal and his team for being the last presenters. It did not by any means least. This is probably the longest meeting we've ever had. We have had some closed sessions that were long, but to have open session meetings that were this long. So thank you for hanging with us. I know we lost some community members, but it is late in the evening. I believe that's our final agenda item, except for any other board or community announcements that need to be made. I think there may still be a couple of members of Ardina's team from Parenting Black Children. And thank you for coming. I know that she invited you as trainees, so we're so glad that you're here. I know a few of you had to leave, but if you want to introduce yourself, that'd be great if you're still here.
Hi, my name is La Rosa Tate. I'm already kind of winding down, so I'm not going to turn my video on, but I'm a part of Ardina's group, and it was great to be here tonight and to just learn more about the things that are happening in the community. So thank you for allowing us to be here.
Oh, we're pleased to have you with us, and thank you for joining us and sticking with us so long this evening, La Rosa. Anybody else from her team? I know she had to step off, but I wasn't sure if others were still present. Okay. Any other community comments or board or staff comments before I close our meeting? Mary, you're muted. Do you have something to say? I see your mouth going, but you're muted. Can you unmute? Uh-oh. Sherry, are you still with Mary? There we go.
Yeah, sorry. I just like to say that it was very interesting. And if anyone needs any help in the community to have speaking, I will do it for you guys. And that's all I have to say. And thank you for being patient with me through all this time. I can see you now. I have a new iPad, so I'll be with you.
Thank you, Mary. We're so glad you're with us. And your new iPad is awesome because we can clearly see you now. No more foggy picture like before.
I can see everybody.
Great.
Okay, Jesse, see you later.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.